Today's guest is inspiration on the water, but also off the water. Probably better known to you all out there for what she did in Tokyo, a gold medal race and performance, although she was in a couple of other events in the K2 500, alongside the Olympic GOAT when it comes to winning medals and doing that, and Lisa Carrington. Caitlin Regal, thank you so much for your time, because I know you've been busy. There's been a lot happening, and you've, mixed your day around to be with us. So thank you.
No, it's awesome to be here and to have a chat.
You've got a smile on your face, and I can understand why, because just a couple of days ago, something cool happened, okay? So you've got a website that launched. I saw it on social media. I had a look through this. This is very good. So it's caitlinregal.co.nz. Talk to me about it and why.
Yeah, so for me, it was kind of something that I found, I guess, in my career as an athlete, I have had some really big challenges with my well-being. So starting in 2017, considering my retirement pretty early on, and I kind of found that I didn't have great balance. And I had a few things in line. I had a career and all of that, but I just didn't have everything kind of coming together and working in unison. And I found that it wasn't helping me. It wasn't helping who I was and the journey that I wanted to be on and the person I wanted to be. And so I kind of started exploring a little further the path of this like holistic kind of approach to the person I wanted to be and how that would impact my performances. And so I worked with my sports psych, but also kind of just did my own research on well-being and ended up starting my master's and understanding well-being further. And I guess from there, I created some content for myself, which was literally, it started as the stuff that I wanted to live by, my principles, practicing what I preach. And then from there, I guess I want to share it with other people, because I think, it's helped me a lot. And it's I've learned a lot on my journey, not just in performance, but in where I'm going and how I figure things out. And I really wanted to have that content for other people to use and hopefully help them on their own path to a better well-being.
Well, I applaud you for two things. That's winning gold over there in Tokyo, but for doing this as well, because this is absolutely amazing. This is the lane that I love, that I love to be in and around and experience and get to know a bit more, because it doesn't matter what lane you're in, whether that be in business or in sport, this is how you get better at it. And when you can do what you've done in terms of experience, but also by the book, that's absolutely amazing. Now, the last time I spoke to an Olympic gold medalist, I forgot to get Michaela Blythe to show us her medal. So show us your gold medal, my friend.
Give me 2 seconds. Hold up.
Geez, that was a rookie mistake, not getting that gold medal up. There it is.
Throwing it around.
Oh, wow. That's all right. You'll get another one.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty good. And it's got the old labeling on the bottom. It's good.
Oh, wow. When you touch that right now, what sort of feels or thoughts go through your mind? I know some time on already, but there's a lot of hard work leading up into that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, for me, it was around, it was this K2 was something that was really important to me for a long time. And I think for me in 2017, when I was looking at walking away from the sport, Gordon Walker, Lisa's coach at the time, took me out for a coffee and was like, look, we're going to Aussie. Do you want to come with us? And we're just going to find what makes you happy. And I think, that's the first time Lisa and I got in a K2 together, and it just went really well. And so I think, that K2 is part of the reason I'm still here and paddling. And, it was something I was I was really good at, but it was a lot of work. And so to be able to win a medal in it after, what happened for me in 2017, is pretty special. So every time I hold it, it's like a bit of a journey as to where I got there. It's not the gold medal. It's the stuff that got me there, And
hell no! It is the gold medal. We're going to talk about it later, about purpose versus outcome. There's so much interesting stuff that you make reference to, and I like Gordon Walker. What an absolute legend. And he asked you, what would make you more happy? And that's crazy, right? Because you wouldn't align the two, thinking high performance, winning, outcome driven, being happy.
Yeah, and I think that's like so Gordy. Like I think Gordy's always kind of seen us as more than just athletes, and he pushes us. I remember sitting down with him and talking about the fact I want to buy a house one day, and he's like, let's do it, let's write a plan. And so he's pretty cool in the sense that he really wants this journey as an athlete to complement us in our own journey. So I think it's pretty epic. We got this epic little team, and I wouldn't have wanted to win a K2 medal with anyone else like, having such a good friend like Lisa who's helped guide me as well. So it's been
That's
really
awesome.
cool.
I'm excited already because I mean, there's some pressures in doing that, going and teaming up with the Olympic great. But that's just a great story. We're going to delve into a little bit later because we're going to go right back to the start. Not right back, but we'll go back to 5 years of age when you thought you're going to get into surf lifesaving, because I want to know why that and why it's been so good for so many athletes. You're seeing it in rugby league. You're seeing it in a lot of cross sports. It's been a huge foundation and learning grounds for them. Even Lisa Carrington herself came from that background.
Yeah. I think, I guess it started off pretty innocent from my parents just wanting to get us around water. But I think that the community that comes with surf life saving is pretty special. And I think, you learn so many things. You have to work together. It's an individual sport, but you have this group of people that surround you all the time. And, for me, it was around, walking home. It was less about the performance and more around the people I was around. So it was walking home, walking to training from school every day. And all of that stuff, and these people that were my friends, but the family, and I'm still really strongly connected to them. But I think anything with community is going to grow sport and nurture this want for sport. I think there's something about just going and doing stuff and not putting too much pressure on yourself while you're young, or putting pressure on your kids, because I guess my parents never did that. And I wanted to go because, like, for the right reasons, because the environment was good and the people were good. And I think that's what Surf Club did, is it lit this fire in me to partake in sport and to do it because I wanted to, and I wanted to be around my friends. So I think, that's a really important thing. And I think that for me is what sparked my love more so than the want to win.
Yeah, you mentioned your parents. I mean, it's hard being a parent. I've got two kids myself, 15 and 12. And then I think about pressures that you put on or you don't put on, some of your early lessons in life. And my parents, like your parents, were like, you got to be good at school. You got to get educated. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to them. But your parents put you down that track early on, and they want you to be a little bit more holistic. And that's proved to be something that's been good for you. Would that been the most influential in your lifetime?
Yeah, I think, I think I probably could have taken quite a different path. And I think that I was really lucky that I had sport. I got, I'm not the perfect student. I got stood down at school, and I didn't always make the best decisions, but I think sport was a way for me to keep on track. And then I guess I just had lucky. I was lucky to have people around me. My brother does sport as well, and mum and dad were really firm on that. They didn't have degrees, and they felt quite limited in what they could do with their future careers, and they didn't want us to be stuck. So, I mean, there was always whatever options we wanted, but we really needed to look at having a really broad vision of who we were, I guess, our identity, and then it needed to be external to sport.
Okay, so you talk about your future and your goals. You had aspirations early on, but they were to be an Australian Ironwoman. But did that take backseat because of the education? Because you went on to get a degree, and you obviously majored in oral health, which is huge in its own right. But the balance between that would have been hard at one stage.
Yeah, I think what was probably harder for me was, like I was doing really well in surf, and I'd made some like New Zealand development squads and stuff. But for me, I was never super connected to the swimming aspect. Like, I was a good swimmer, but it was going to limit me and it was going to be hard. And the study itself, I was still able to train and partake in, I guess, do my uni. But I think for me, what was more, I guess, I had a really incredible coach, and he kind of opened my eyes to different opportunities. And, it was around not limiting myself to just surf club and opening my eyes. And I think for me, I had Erin Taylor at my surf club, who actually raced K2 with Lisa in 2012. And, I had these role models that were doing these really incredible things through kayaking. And it was, I guess, having the courage to explore that there was something else, that it didn't have to be surf, that I could still pursue sport and I could still do something different. So, I mean, I never really you can always make something work. Like, maybe it wasn't the best balance, and I was struggling to keep on top of sport while I was doing uni. But I think that's part of the sacrifice you make, and that's just one period of your life. So, I wanted to make it work.
I mean, high performance is making things work, but you've been lucky in the fact that you've had a lot of great leaders in and around you that are giving you good advice. I mean, you've mentioned some wonderful names, as well as your parents. So when you think about that, I always think about the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but it's up to the water to the horse to drink or to scull. And in your case, you're one of those people who scull, but you're very good at surf lifesaving. And in the age of 21, you go, okay, well, no, maybe it's kayaking. I mean, do you need to get your brain examined? Or because tell you what, when you're playing rugby and you think you want to be a rugby league player, there's that money that takes you over there, or there's something else that takes you over there. But with you, there was nothing like that. So what took you over to something so new?
I'm like a very high energy person with like lots of ideas, and I think for me, I think just in general, sports I've always been drawn to sport, like super competitive with my brother. But then I think kayak, it's got such a great history, and that was really tempting. And I heard how hard it was, and I liked that. Like I liked the fact that it was hard and it was challenging, and people always told me I had the potential to do it, but it was like, actually, can I? And I think for me, I don't like to limit myself. Like I don't, I naturally want to take up a challenge. Like I applied for oral health because my careers advisor at school told me I'd never get a degree in a health science.
Oh, you're one of those ones. You're one of those ones. Oh, you never do that. You never. I'll show you. You're one of those people.
Yeah. And that was what sport was for me. It was, I'm really high energy, but I needed structure. And for me, kayak gave that to me. Like I said earlier, like my path could be quite different if I didn't have the structure and the challenge. And I need the stimulation. So for me, it was a new challenge that really appealed to me.
Well, you mentioned challenges. I mean, you're really new into the sport. Rio Olympics is just around the corner. You're a hygienist after, passing your degree, majoring in oral health. So much to juggle in this new sport with aspirations of going to the Olympic Games. How did you manage to do that at a tender age of early 20s?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. And I think, like I said earlier, like I didn't manage it the best I could. I put a lot of pressure on myself to, I went to jobs and I felt like I couldn't tell them about what I wanted to do because I thought that would be a reason why I wouldn't get a job. So I would like say I could work all these hours. And then I met my boss, who's amazing. He's like family to me. And I told him, it was the first job I went to. And I was like, look, this is what I want to do. I know it's a big ask. And I know that lots of people say that, but I want to do this. And, it started that I agreed to work 4 days. And then he's like, you just let me know. And then it got too hard. So they would cut down to 3 days and then 2 days and then 1 day. And I think, I'm really lucky that some great people fell into my life because they helped me make it work. And, at times it wasn't working. I was at the gym by myself at 6 p.m. After work. But I think, it just teaches you, like it teaches you your limits. It also teaches you that that's just part of life. Like you have to juggle stuff. You're a parent, you know what it's like. You've got to juggle kids and a career. And I think I just learned early on. I got taught early on. But, I was working at the age of 13. So it was not something I hadn't done before.
Yeah, but people are getting on the piss at the age of 21. They're having fun. They're going overseas. So what makes you different to these people? Because not only did you have ambitions of representing your country at the Olympics, a pinnacle event, but you were a professional. You were doing all sorts. I mean, you keep saying how lucky you are about these people in and around you, but there must be something about you that attracts these people to you.
Yeah, I think, relationships with people are really important for me. And, I definitely went down parts of being a teenager and doing that stuff. But for me, I had, a pretty big wake up call in our friend group with a drunk driving incident, and it nearly killed a friend. And I think for me, it's a wake up call that wasn't the journey I wanted to go down. And sport was something that was good, and it was something that not many people get the opportunity to do. And so I think, yeah, I picked, like I have this drive in me, but I've also had things that have woken me up to things. I haven't always had it easy. I haven't, my parents haven't bought me all the equipment.
I've never once thought that you've had it easy. So it's funny that you're saying that. Like everything about you is not easy. So let's talk a bit more about a couple of these moments where there are wake up calls, because once again, there can be wake up calls for people in life, but they don't see the signs, or they don't make the decision to go down a different path. I mean, you seem to be exceptional in terms of your decision making at an early stage when you can be blinded by your youth.
Yeah, and I think I probably made some good decisions to tie myself to people that could help me. And I had a great group of friends. I still have a great group of friends, and I think I think it's interesting. Like my first coach, he also taught me to work hard for things. And I sold venison salami to fundraise for my first kayak. He went and bought them from like the East Cape and brought them down and was like, "You have all of these salamis to sell, and you can pay me back for the kayak I've bought you." And so, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is, but I think I'm not from like a super privileged family, or I haven't been given everything, so I've had to learn pretty quickly. I guess to be street smart, and I used to be really embarrassed by the fact that I haven't had this perfect life where I've done everything right, and I was head girl, and I was all these things. But actually, my story is different, but it's got me to the same point. And I think, I want to show people genuine me, because I think, we're not all perfect, and we haven't had the perfect road. And you can still do it. You can still do a degree. You can still do your master's. You can fail at school. Like, you can still do stuff, and that's what I've done. And I'm really good at wanting to prove people wrong, and I think that's part of why I am where I am.
It's a little bit like me, actually. When I was young, and I used to say, "I want to do this," and people went, "No, you can't." I say, "Well, okay, I'll show you." And that's a big saying of mine: "Don't tell me, show me," which my dad passed on to me, and I love that attitude about yourself. Okay, so 2021, which was obviously Tokyo Olympics, which was 2020. We're going to say it's 2020.
Yeah.
That was an amazing. It was a golden moment, a moment that you will remember forever. However, you keep speaking about moments in life where you had to make choices. In 2016, after Rio, what state were you in? Because you had enough. You're going to give up from this game. So that means you wouldn't have been having that. Lift that up again. That means you wouldn't have had that, buddy. You wouldn't be an absolute legend who you are. So talk to me a little bit about 2016, what happened and where you were mentally.
Yeah, so I guess I finished the Olympics, and I guess everyone talks about this, the Olympic blues, originally I didn't have that. I had this, I finished and I was really proud of our fifth, but I was like so determined to get on the podium by Tokyo. Like, I knew I was capable, whether it be in a team, whether it be an individual. And our team kind of split a bit. We lost Jamie, who was, such a huge figure in our crew. She was a little bit older than us, and she was a really guiding figure, and she kind of tied us together and held us accountable. And she left, and I guess our team split a bit, and I got very focused on outcome. And the process was around data control, performance, but performances don't often measure up well when you're so focused on that. So processes went bad, and I was just in a bad space, and I wasn't really dealing well with the environment. And it was a lot of my own stuff too, my identity. I was unsure of where I was going. And so we raced nationals, and I raced terribly. And from there I was like, I'm done. I'd had some issues, and I just decided, this isn't for me. This isn't bringing out the best version of me. And I remember one of my teammates saying, "Mate, you're great in every environment, but maybe sport's not for you." And I thought, man, maybe it's not.
Wow.
And it was pretty harsh. Like, it was pretty harsh at the time, but I knew it wasn't true, but it made me think about the fact, like, how do I want to do both? Like, I'm great at sport, but I'm not nurturing this person that people are drawn to. And so how do I bring both together? And that's, I guess, where the progress started, around how do I match my performance with happiness, and still being able to enjoy the things, because sport's not just about like waking up and training and sleeping, and like, there is still the social aspect, and there is still this really important part of family, friends, and you can't just put everything in one basket, because it's not going to make you happy. And that's what I found out. And I wouldn't want 2017 to happen to anyone, but I'm also glad that it happened, because I've learned a lot, and I'm on a different path. I'm on the path that I feel like I was meant to be on, which is around well-being.
Yeah, and that's awesome. You going on that path and being able to help others now with CaitlinRegal.co.nz at its early infancy, which is pretty exciting. Now, on there, it said identity greater than sport alone is important, right? And that's what you made reference to now. Identity that is separate to you as the kayaker is
Yeah.
huge. And is it? Can you talk to us about that a little bit more? Because I think that's when people get the understanding of that work-life balance, perhaps.
Yeah, so I think it's the same in a, a job. People you spend a lot of your time in those environments, and so becomes such a big part of you. But you have to choose to be the person you're meant to be as well. It's really easy when you meet someone and someone asks you where you work. Like that's and because that's such a strong piece of identity, but it's actually around sharing who I am and living to those things. And it doesn't matter if people think it's right or wrong. It's your way. There's no right or wrong way. And for me, it's around nurturing my relationships with friends. Like I'm can be a very serious person, but I think I'm lighthearted and I want good relationships with people. I want to go out on my weekends and explore, and that for me is rest, and that's who I am. And I think that's the stuff that's important, and that's the stuff that's more than sport. I know that people are going to remember me as a gold medalist, but I want them to remember me for Caitlin, the person you met down the street, that is happy to have a chat about dogs because I'm obsessed with my dog, and that has something so much more than that. And I've got a career and I've got all these other things, and it's like, so I don't want to be seen for just my gold medal. I want to be seen for the person that I am, the person that's got no shame, the person that's happy to talk if you walk past me, and that's the person I really want to be known as, not just for my gold medal.
As I said in your introduction, inspiration on the water and off the water, and I think it's a great role model for a lot of wahine toa or girls growing up, or even guys to aspire to be like you. Let's go back to after Rio, and it almost never happened because you wouldn't have had all that learning that you can pass on to everyone else. What changed your mind in you specifically, or is it people in and around you? Because there could be a lot of people in that situation now in their lives with where we're at with COVID who are thinking, man, I'm in the corner. I don't want to do this. I can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to get out of. Like, it takes a lot of time, and you feel like a burden too. Like he's now my husband, but he wasn't my husband at the time. But I was like, man, this is a lot for someone to, for someone to see and be around, because you're not your best self at that point. But I was really lucky that we didn't set a task too high. It was around going and just paddling and enjoying it. And you've got to start small. Like, you don't have to be at this point now. Like, you literally can step towards it, and it's all around stepping towards it. And that's all I did, was I stepped towards looking at myself and what I wasn't doing as well. Like, it was all very well for me to blame everything around me, but I had to look at the work that I needed to do. And I sat down with my sports psych and I created that grip score, and we did heaps of work, and we still do heaps of work. Like, I think that learning and understanding of self is never ending. So for me, it was around, I want to see a sports psychologist every week, because I think it's really important. Not because you don't have problems if you're speaking to someone or you're talking about your life, but I think what you need to do is you need to talk, and you need to you got to ask for help, because it's not easy. And then if you get those people around you that are willing to help, then man, you see it, and you've just got to set small tasks that get bigger and bigger, and that's where I started. I started with small steps, and they got bigger.
Small steps in the right direction. That's as simple as it can be, right? And if you're thinking about people around you, it's about growth, and people around you and people you talk to, like the sports psych, and that are the people that can help with growth. Purpose is massive for you. I've seen that word come up a few times in your website. It's massive for me. It's massive for a lot of people out there. Talk to us about purpose and why it's a huge part of who you are as a person.
Yeah, well, I think it guides who I want to be and who I am. Like, it's what is my place? Like, what am I here for? And I think there's so many things I'm here for, but it's really easy to get drawn into this feeling like you have to be this certain person for people. And like I said earlier, we had this pepeha in our group, and I felt really, like, not ashamed, but I felt a little bit scared to share who I am, what my values are, and my beliefs, because I didn't have the same path. I saw all these other people's paths as perfect, and it was like, actually, it's not the right way to be. And so purpose is for me who I want to be, who I want to live by. And, you know, as an athlete, it was adding mana to the Ryan name, which is, you know, my maiden name. And, you know, I'm from a family of athletes. My uncle was an All Black. You know, my grandparents competed nationally overseas. And, you know, I wanted to be that person, but I also wanted to be all the things that are you know, the whakapapa behind me, the people that have taught me these skills. And, you know, that's around being resilient, and that's around never swaying from the person I am because I've got an achievement, and that's my purpose. My purpose is to be me and to keep living true to that, and to keep pushing to be better, and to keep giving myself new challenges, because that's what I am. As soon as I get content, it's game over. So I just need to keep pushing to explore who I am and what I'm doing, and living by these values that I have around being true, being honest, and being caring. And that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. You mentioned masters in the realm of well-being. We spoke to a couple of specialists about this in that lane not too long ago. And now everyone seems to be talking about outcome and being too outcome focused or outcome driven. What's your views on that? Because I noticed you talk about that a little bit as well, and it can be a hindrance at times.
Yeah, and it's a really hard one, because I think, you know, in performance sport, there's measures for everything. And the hard thing in study is you have to have measures. And so for me, it was around balancing the two. So I guess the way in which I see well-being is I see these two components, and it's all scientific, but one's around mental health, and one's about a greater part of mental health. It's around mastery approach, social interactions, goal setting, you know, all of these things. And it's really hard to measure, but I think there's ways in which you actually have to measure how you're going, and that can be through, I guess, my studies around journaling and understanding, and then matching it up with performance data, because I'm working in the performance realm. But I think, yes, you can have too much outcome, but I think you still need to be able to see where you are and where you're going. And so, because you're always wanting to get better, so it's not a bad thing that you're looking to get to a different place. But I think when it's used in the right space, then you can measure it to an extent. But you're not going to get a number. You're not going to get your speed or your time, but you're going to be able to see how you change and how you know, and you can assess that for yourself. And that's why I created the GRIP score. It's a way of measuring or reviewing or reflecting on what you're doing and where you want to go. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's not a pass fail. It's just having a way to feel some sense of accomplishment in the work that you're doing.
That sounds like a great tool. Is there any way you can share that with us? Is that on your website, or how do we go through that ourselves?
Yeah, so it's on my website, and it's something that I created. It was around performance, but what I actually found is it merged quite well into just everyday life and what people are doing. And so it's around gratitude, resilience, identity is the middle piece, because that's what ties everything together. Performance under pressure, and planning and practice. And, you know, performance doesn't have to be on the world stage. Performance can be the work you're doing at home with your family, or performance could be your meditation practice. And so what it's about is around, you know, writing the stuff you did well, acknowledging that, because the hard thing for athletes, and I was the worst, was I never saw the things I did right. So get off the water and say what went wrong.
Yes.
And so I was like, my hand crossed over, and it was like, actually, why don't we change that and start with what went well? And so you write your GRIP score, and you write down what you were grateful for, or what you did well. Did you recognize it? And so it's recognizing the actions you do, because the first step's recognizing it, right? And then you can act on it. So, and then after you've written the things that you've done well, you then reflect on the things that you want to do tomorrow or the next day. And so it's not a fail, but it's a way to look towards where you want to go. And it's I guess it's a measure, but it's not. It's just a reflection. It's a way to reflect.
I love that. So jump on the website, caitlinregal.co.nz, for that and some more information on this young killer, because I guarantee there's so much in there. Okay, I was going to ask you about the pressures of joining and getting in the boat with the Olympic GOAT, which is Lisa Carrington, but you do know her, or you knew her as a friend going in. Did that make it any easier? Because, you know, you've been to one Olympic Games, it wasn't as successful as you'd like, and then you go in with the most successful kayaker before, you know, I mean, after obviously McDonald and Ferguson. So what's that like, man?
I feel like Lisa's going to love this question. No, it's cool. Like, I think, we're very different people, and we have very similar values and strengths, but we're also very different. So it was, Lisa's, she's very calm and like she speaks, and I'm very high energy. And so it was, it was a really, we were like, we're like yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're quite different. And I think for us, it was around understanding, I guess, the differences in one another and how that could bring it up. So I think, I don't think Lisa ever saw it as being, I guess, not a burden, but it's not. She's not someone that ever looks down on you. It was a
Oh,
collaboration,
absolutely
and
not.
we knew that we both had strengths. The fact that I'm taller, I've got long levers. There was always talk around what each of us brought to the boat, and I think, I never, she's a really good friend of mine, and I was stoked that I was paddling with her, but I worked really hard to get to that point to be able to work with her. So it was a privilege, but I feel like it was just as much of a privilege for her. So it's pretty special to win a medal with your mate.
That's what I love, because that's a real partnership. That's a real team when the learnings are equal and open for everyone. So what did you learn of her, and what were you able to teach her? Because like, what a team, Olympic gold, and no doubt you'll be there at the next Olympics without any pressure being put on you. You'll have to refer to your grit scores.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, I guess for me, like, I'm a real heart on sleeve person, but with that, I'm a real, emotional connection and how things feel and checking in. So for me, it's my communication is really important, and Lisa likes to process things. And I learned that there was more ways that I could process things and how I could process things, but also, I hadn't done some of the stuff that she had done, and Lisa's obviously kicks my ass every day at sprinting, and so she taught me these things on how to sprint better, how to be more efficient. And then I'm an endurance machine, so on the water it was come on, we're going, I'm gonna help test your limits. So for us, we have these strengths that really complement each other, and I don't know if we would be as good as we are now if we didn't have each other.
Yeah, no. You said you're an endurance machine. Now, you had to be an endurance machine at the Olympics, because it's not just training where you got to be endurance. It's endurance performance. And underneath duress, pressure, external, internal, all that type of stuff. So once you worked hard, and with the nightmare of the previous Rio Olympics, going into this, how did you feel firstly through it, and what tools or what did you use to keep yourself sane, focused, and on task and executing?
Well, I mean, it was a really big task for me, and I didn't accomplish everything that I wanted. And I think that's something that Lise makes look really easy, but like, the execution, I know in a K1 500, the execution is massive, and I did not execute to the plan. And that's just what pressure does. And that's coming off the high of your first medal and all of these things. But I think you can't prepare for that. And I tried to prepare, I met with my sports psych after every race. We tried to be really calm after winning the medal, but it didn't change the emotions and the feelings. And so, you can do the work on yourself, but there's still unexpecteds that come with that. Like, I'm in a different place to what I was a year ago or 2 years ago, but I still have my challenges, and I'm sure any athlete does. And so, yes, I had disappointments, but I'm not disappointed in my intent and the work that I did. And so, I stuck to my processes. I kept talking to coaches. Part of what our team value was kotahitanga, so togetherness. Everything we did was staying tight together, and how we do that. And so that was what we stuck by, and I feel really proud about that. This is the best campaign we've ever had as a team, not because of the results, but because of who we are as a group of girls. And it's the most amazing team, and I'm really proud to have been part of this Olympics, because, man, the work that we put in over the last couple of years is, people wouldn't even know how much work we put on off the water as we did on the water.
We have no idea as the team of 5 million here in Aotearoa, but in terms of you being the most successful and putting it into practice and executing, and being the most successful, that's so important to us, because we're probably at a time now where this country needed it more than ever before. So to have that Olympic team do that, it's inspiring stuff, and we thank you for that. I want to talk to you about non-negotiables, and you've mentioned them a few sort of times, and what makes you the high-performance athlete that you are, not just in sport, but also in business too, because you've got that mindset, but also with your studies, because you're also a hygienist as well. Non-negotiables for yourself, Caitlin Regal.
So non-negotiables. What would they be? Like I've got a few, but I think these days I'm not willing to sacrifice my happiness for things.
I like that.
Like you're going to have ups and downs, but I'm not really willing to go down a path that's not going to make me happy just to do it. And I think that can be in a career. I'm a dental hygienist, and I love where I work, but it's not filling the cup for me anymore. Like it's not where I see myself being forever. And so why would I sit and just be content because it gives me the security and safety of an income? Like I'm not, that's not the person I am. That's not my purpose. It's not my belief. So I'm not going to do that. And yes, it's scary, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my happiness to do that anymore. And so that's why I've gone down the well-being route, because that's what makes me happy. And I think my non-negotiable is being unhappy. Like I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that.
I love it. I love that you're going away from that, because I know that's an important job, being a dental hygienist. No doubt, teeth are important, but to help people in that lane, having achieved what you've achieved through experience, but also study, that's amazing. That's the place where you want to be, and I think it's great. Okay, a couple of favorite quotes that you live by.
I guess it's a long quote from Muhammad Ali, and it's the impossible quote. So impossible was not a small word. Impossible was a small word thrown around by. Have you?
Yeah, but I want you to say it. I want you to say it. I love it.
So long.
Okay, we'll put that quote up.
I will put it on my website, so you have to watch it. But I think as well, what I really liked is going into the Olympics. One of our S&C told me about Matthew McConaughey and his speech at the Oscars, and I'm sure people have seen it, but he talks about the person he wants to be. And someone asked him when he was quite young around the person he aspired to, and he said, "Me in 10 years." And they were like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." And 10 years later, they asked him, "So are you have you met your goal? Are you the person you want to be in 10 years?" He's like, "No, my goal's changed. It's me in 10 years' time." And he said, the goal never stops changing. You're still looking to be the person you want to be in 10 years' time, but you don't stop there. You keep looking forward. And I really like him. And I think he's, I'd say read his book. He's had a pretty rocky background, but he talks about chasing green lights. So he doesn't let these red lights, he doesn't let these moments in life that are pretty average stop him. He sees them as an opportunity to chase these green lights and these opportunities. And I really like that. And so, this book's called Green Lights, and you should all read it. But it's, I think it's not a quote, but it's, these purposes and these values he lives by. And YouTubers, his speech is really good.
Matthew McConaughey. Well, it's funny because he was there at the Rio Olympics, and I was there as a broadcaster, and I was going past, and I saw him there. I think he was watching Phelps swim, and I went up to him and I asked him for a selfie, and I got that selfie, by the way. But he turned around and he was going to do the piss off type of thing, and I was like, "Oh, Matthew McConaughey, sir, pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for your time." I was really nice, so he took the photo with me, and I was like, "Yeah, Matthew McConaughey, he's the man, right?"
He's impressive. The man, and he spent a year studying in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And a wonderful talent, just like yourself. You're a wonderful talent. Oh, look, I just want to thank you so much for your time. And if you're out there, watch this space with Caitlin Regal, caitlinregal.co.nz. So she's finishing her master's in the realm of well-being, and I think she's going to be an absolute killer. Thank you for your time. And for everyone out there, thank you for joining in. And remember, there's nothing quite like real talk.
Thank you so much.